It's Sunday night, and this is the Conjugal Visit on KGFRocks.com.
And good evening, and welcome to the Conjugal Visit Show. I'm Free Ride, along with my good friend, Guido. Guido, how you doing, man?
Oh, you said good friend. I didn't know that was me.
Oh, fuck off. How you doing, man?
I'm doing.
Yeah, you got... Boy, I tell you what, you're killing me, Smalls. And then with our very special guest tonight, Mr. Bad Habit himself. Hey
guys,
how's it going, man? How's it going?
Good.
Yeah.
Good coming to you from the West Coast here now.
Yeah, the West Coast. Can you drink water still?
Yeah.
Is the drought over? Is it done, man?
No, not really. It's we got a lot of rain, but not enough. But the important thing is Lake Shasta, which is a huge lake up in the more northernmost part of the state. Is almost full, so that supplies a lot of water to the state. So yeah, they didn't call the drought over, but you don't see it on the news nearly as much as you did.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's okay, because don't worry about it. The people in parts of Michigan can't drink water either because it's contaminated. So
yeah,
Well,
I'd rather have a drought than
the poison water. Poison water. Yeah, that was a foul up. I mean, do you know? Okay, we live in a great country. And simply because if that would have happened in China, or in the or in the former Soviet Union, or North Korea, or someplace like that, the guy that was running the show over there, he would have already been executed.
Right.
They'd already took him down and says, "Okay,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, get on the knees. That's it. You're done." They
yeah.
So them guys there can say, a sigh of relief, but there's definitely going to be some prison time handed out over that. I guarantee.
As well, there should be. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, children dying and stuff is not very cool at all. Not very cool at all.
No, it's not. Do you know what I heard, and what I'm really pissed about? This is true too. This has been confirmed. ABC network is banning lapel pins of flags and 9/11 things and stuff like that. None of their news anchors are allowed to wear them anymore.
Who is?
Why?
ABC
why would they,
News.
What's the reasoning for that?
The reasoning is they don't want to show, their whatever to one thing. They want to be universal. You're a fucking American, ABC.
Yeah, thank you.
American Broadcast Company?
Right, exactly.
Excuse me?
Not only that, they're owned by Disney.
They're owned by Disney, one of the greatest American institutions in our history. And they're owned by Disney. Well, that's part of the reason why. There are some liberal folks over there that are kind of anti-American, anti-religion, anti-everything. And that's what ABC has become. CBS is really close. CBS lies about a lot of things. I'm not going to say lies. That's harsh. Half-truths without substantiated proof. Is that better? Is that better than calling them liars? I mean, yeah. So, that's what CBS has become. And Fox has become redundant. I mean, every story's the same. And the only one right now, even NBC has a liberal leaning. Even they are becoming a little bit more balanced than Fox. Fox has become really one-sided. And
but really, Fox and CNN have always been one-sided. Fox has always been more Republican, and CNN's been more Democratic, and it's been that way forever. That's why Fox and CNN can coexist, because they appeal to a different audience.
Exactly. So you split in your audience. You split between liberals and conservatives. I should say. I shouldn't say. I mean, if you're a libertarian, you're conservative as well. So conservative on laws anyway. So, but as far as that's concerned, I mean, I'm a little tired of it already, and we're not even into the prime election season yet. We're just in the primaries, for Christ's sake, and I'm already fed up with the whole friggin' thing. It's all a joke to me now.
Yeah, but we're get fed up with
This
it.
is the first time in a long time that I've thought of it as a joke. After Mitt Romney, I couldn't declare it anything but a joke.
Doesn't Showtime, the Showtime network, they have I haven't watched it, but they have a documentary series called The Circus or something like that, and it's about the primaries. They're like following different candidates around. And I haven't watched any of it, but now I'm kind of curious about it. I probably watch it. And honestly, as far as the news goes, I don't watch network news. I might look at CNN on the internet, but even that I can tell is pretty biased. And the whole thing with media to me is like they're trying to sensationalize and frighten people basically. And
right.
I mean, I think the truth is out there, but it seems like more and more you really, really have to do some digging, online to
Sure.
find, or at least find the things that you're interested in and the issues that you're concerned about, because everybody puts their own slant on things, and the way I feel is I want, like Freeride said, I want balance. I want to.
Yeah, I want to. No matter who it hurts, no matter who it hurts, and stop hiding some of these assholes. I mean, some of these assholes just don't deserve to be hidden away. And just and I'm not naming names. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to be on anybody's side. I'm just saying that let's hear it about everybody, not just the few. But everybody needs to be uncovered for what they do, and the American people need to become more aware of what's actually happening. These last 7 years, I'll say it bluntly, has been a disaster as far as I'm concerned. However, that being said, people are working, gas prices are lower, this and that. But you know what hasn't changed?
What's that?
The African American population is still unemployed, involved in narcotics and crime. And nothing changed there. Matter of fact, I think it's worse today than it was, or we're just being told about it. And we weren't being told about it before.
It's that same on everything. It's nothing's ever going to change. Do you think magically something? You think an Italian president gets elected and there's no more mafia? No,
you're right.
It doesn't happen that way. It's just.
Well, and beyond that, I think that the media sensationalizes that particular lifestyle. I mean, with the videos, the rap videos, and it's that lifestyle and that inner city type life is sensationalized, and it's young impressionable people see that and they like especially. Like in the suburbs and stuff. Well, I want to be like that. That's cool. It's been made to be cool to be an outlaw, I guess, for lack of a better term. And I think the media plays a big part in that.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, tonight what we are doing is we are reviewing albums from our past. And talking about the changes they made on our lives. Is that right? Is that fair to say, Guido?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, Guido, why don't you go first?
I think I will. Okay, we're in the 60s, right?
We're in the 60s.
Well, I wasn't in the 60s, but you two were. But anyways, the 60s, I had a hard time because, unlike the 70s and 80s, I didn't experience the 60s music firsthand. So for my thing, I was one time sitting at a friend of mine's house when I was like 12 or 13 years old, and we were smoking candy joints, and we were listening to music, and I'm like, he said, "You want to hear something?" I said, "Yeah, put some Metallica on." He goes, "No, I'm going to put something different on." So he puts the record on, and this fucking organ starts, and I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And then as the pot wore on, and the music's played on, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And he said to me, "It's the Doors," and it was the Doors' first album. So that'll be my choice for our first album to talk about. Iconic album, I believe, came out in 1967. I don't have the page right up, but
December 66.
66. Okay.
66. Yeah.
So it probably hit their peak in 67. And it had so many great songs on it. Can you guys agree on that? I mean, it was a kick.
Oh yeah.
I break on through, and then again, it was like what was going on, what was trending back then. It's AOR, it's album oriented rock, and it was one of their their breakthrough album. It's just
I'll tell you what really made me like it. It wasn't like anything else. Okay, it wasn't like you hear music that comes out today. And you hear music comes out from the 80s. It's got influences of the 60s. It's got influences of the 70s. But that album, I don't see where the influence comes from because to me it sounds like something that never was done before, the way it was done.
No, I don't know who influenced him. I think he was influenced more by poets than he was by rock artists.
But I'm talking.
I think he was influenced by alcohol, but
he was influenced by alcohol.
And mescaline.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But the beginning, when he was just a stoner reading Aldous Huxley's, books and poems,
right.
and he was just a beatnik. Like they were stoners, man. They weren't into the hardcore drugs yet, And what they did, I think, is had so much influence, like even on the '90s grunge period, like back in them. If you listen to the Doors' like Soft Parade album, it sounds like that kind of music.
Right.
Right.
They were so influential, but that first album has to be it for me because I think they were one of the few rock bands other than the Beatles and the Stones, and I might be wrong, but they may have been the first American rock band to have a #1 single.
Yeah.
In the 60s.
I don't know the answer to that, but I think it could be right. And another thing that record has really stood the test of time. I mean, it still sounds fresh today. And you look at the track list, and there's tons of classic stuff. And then you think about what was on like popular radio at the time, and it was all I don't know, the Association or a lot of poppy stuff, crazy poppy stuff. And this was just something completely different, just really different.
Yeah, it wasn't your incense peppermint. It was 1966 for crying out loud. 1966. Right. And that's when that was even before Janis Joplin actually did something. And Jimi Hendrix.
They were just starting
upcoming. You're right in the respects it was different than anything else that was out of there. It wasn't Incense and Peppermint. It wasn't Mellow Yellow. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't I don't know, the Hit Parade, the song with the hook. And that's why it was so different, and that's why the album sold so well, is because even back then there was an anti-corporate thing going on, and they've always said that corporate America will be the demise of music. And back then, when the record producers got a hold of the Doors' first album, they said, well, what do we do with this? The thought process behind that is intriguing. Just to think about what they went through just to say, well, how are we going to promote this? What are we going to do? And they didn't have to do anything. All they had to do was play it to know that it was going to do well. It was a great album.
Right. And the best song, I'm going to tell you that I chose the best song on this album for me, and we're going to play a snippet of that, I believe, in a bit. And it's 20th Century Fox. Now, the song is amazing. It's different. It's out there. It's got elements of, jazz from John Densmore's like a jazzy type drummer. And Robbie Krieger's a real bluesy guitar player, and Ray Manzarek is like, Baroquean fucking Wurlitzer shit. But it shouldn't be good together, but it sounds amazing together.
Oh, and what about the lyrics? Sidewalk crouches at her feet like a dog that begs for something sweet. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing and also with the Doors, Jim Morrison to me is the first true rock star. He's the first one that would hang off the side of the building and no press is bad press and don't say this word on Ed Sullivan. He says it. You're never going to do Ed Sullivan again. I already did it.
I already did. Why would I want to do it again?
Right. Yeah. I mean, a rock star right there. The first true rock star.
I think he wore leather pants, didn't he? I mean,
yeah, they were really. Yeah,
he might have been the first one.
Ultra tight. I had the opportunity just the other day. I was watching VH1 Classic Rock, and they did the Doors at the Hollywood Bowl was on, and he of course they closed the show with The End. And he would change the lyrics up live. I mean, he would just play with them, and he kept telling him, "Turn the house lights down. Turn the fucking house lights down." And they wouldn't turn down the house lights. He said, "Oh fuck it, don't matter anyways. They love me anyways, in spite of you," and shit like that. So I think Jim Morrison. I think they were surprised at what happened. Yeah, what do you think? I mean, what do you think?
I think they were surprised, but how can you not be a hit when you write a song about in the end, and it has tales of he wants to fuck his mother? That's what it says.
Yeah.
At the end
I
of
think
the song.
he probably, his dad, was a naval officer. He was an admiral in the Navy,
right?
And
he hated his father.
And he hated his father. So
right.
I think a lot of that came from his anger. I mean,
that explains a lot. Yeah,
it explains a lot. And he did explain his life in some of his songs. He really did. He wasn't your typical rock star where they threw out clues about what they were thinking. He just came right out and said what he was thinking. So he didn't,
right.
It wasn't like the Beatles, he blew his mind out in his car. Well, they're talking about Paul or are they talking about some douchebag, So it was all clues, but he didn't do that. He came right out with it, man.
Right. But now, see, the thing about the Doors, too, I love Jim Morrison, and I love his writing. And it sucks to me that here's how it works. He was really good. The Doors were not good without him, okay?
Right.
But and I feel it's the same way the other way around. I don't think he would be as good without the Doors, okay? Because the signature sound that they had together, I think, made that band.
Yeah. There's a lot of bands like that the individuals are never as good as the sum,
right?
And it's just these guys getting together at this moment in time in this particular place and
at the beach. On the beach.
Right. And luckily, there was, and for this particular record, there was somebody there to capture that because, it's funny. I'm looking at some stuff about, there was a note on here about at the song, The End, as soon as they recorded it, Jim Morrison ran into the studio where he sang and emptied a fire extinguisher into it. So, they were having fun recording this album.
Oh, they were.
And it was a live recording. I mean, this was really a moment in time captured, and it was amazing.
Well, Paul Rothchild was arguably the right choice to produce this album. I mean, I don't know what the guy did before it or after that, for the matter, but the Doors albums that he produced were masterpieces. And that's also funny too, how certain producers can be successful with certain people, but not with others. And the Doors' last album was the only album not produced by him, and the sound was so different. L.A. Woman was a great album, I'm not going to knock it, but the sound was a little different than the Doors sound. So, I mean, this production was key too. And think of it this way: on the charts, like you said, everybody knows it's Windy and
right.
She Loves You and all this stuff, and then fucking Break On Through to the Other Side comes on. Light My Fire, come on, baby, light my fire. Wow, what a difference!
Right. Well, it freaked people out. I mean, it freaked out. The teenagers loved it, obviously, because this was a moment in American history when we were going through a lot of change. I mean, with the Vietnam War, this was towards the end of the 60s, and there was a lot of, the younger generation didn't want the status quo. And I mean, the police, there was, documented Jim Morrison sticking his dick out to people or whatever. The cops were at every show. They were waiting for some kind of chaos to happen.
Right.
And it was expected, but that's what that generation was drawn to.
And that's what the tickets sold for. That's what they people paid to go see that show. And they wanted that show. They knew that Jim Morrison had a reputation, and whether it was good or bad, it didn't make a difference. The question that I have is, would this album have done so well, say, in 1996?
I think it would have sounded a lot different.
Yeah, it would have sounded a lot different. And that's the thing. It's key album, and that's the thing about music in general. A certain piece of music can be written in 1966 and forever be amazing, but you may not be able to duplicate that in 1996 because the technology is different, the people are different, the sounds of the day are different. And the 60s. I hate to say this, but the 60s were really the true last decade and early 70s of let's make our own music and not sound like other people. Late 70s into currently, everything sounds like everything else.
They played what you wanted to hear, the songs that were.
No, I'm talking about the style of the music, like the Black Crowes and Lenny Kravitz. I love them to death.
That's because technology.
They sound like the Stones. No.
Right.
Their sound. Like Black Crowes, Lenny Kravitz, love them. Sound like the Stones. Oasis sounds like the Beatles. I mean, everybody sounds like somebody else, but these bands didn't sound like anybody else. They sounded like themselves.
That's true.
Well, and it's really you think about it. Where are the new rock stars? Where are the new Jim Morrisons and the John Lennons, and it doesn't really exist too much. Everything's so sound bites and 24-hour news cycle and
exactly.
And really that's what happened is when in the 60s when have you been watching that program called Vinyl on HBO? Mick Jagger's an executive producer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of soap opera-ish. It is about the music, but it's more about the music industry, the recording industry. And, there's elements of the mafia involved, and they talk about payola. And, they realized at that moment in time, the late 60s, early 70s, that we can make a shitload of money. And it became a corporate thing, and that led to everybody trying to duplicate what somebody else was doing that was making a lot of money. So you're absolutely right. It's the originality of music is
gone.
It's kind of gone. I mean, trying to.
You could blame on the record industry, though, Mr. Bad Habit, because here's what happened. In the 60s, rock and roll, in the 50s, rock and roll just really started, okay? So we had Elvis and we had Chuck Berry and all this stuff. So the 60s came and definitely music's got to progress. But it was still so new that the record industry people didn't know what would sell. So they just let all kinds of things come in.
Right.
Oh, it's sold. So from now on, that was the formula.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what it became, formula rock, formula popular music, instead of, just letting somebody go in a studio and, and setting up some microphones and, okay, well, let's see what we get. It became, hey, when if you talk to session musicians, they're like, hey, we want you to sound like so-and-so on this record. We want that guitar sound. And, it became very homogenized but, not completely. But because it's still, I think there's still, that element still exists, but it certainly became diminished,
Oh, yeah, it's still out there. There's still bits and pieces of it out there.
Right. Have you ever seen that Ken Burns documentary, Jazz? That's I don't want to get off the rock thing, but it's really the beginning to me, the beginning of the American art form, the history of it, and which led into the 60s and the rock and everything like that. It's pretty interesting. I highly recommend it for our listeners out there that haven't seen it.
Oh,
that's
cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, do you want to play? That's a snip.
Yeah, let's play a snip of 20th Century Fox. And
cool.
We'll be back in just a minute or so, and then we'll move on to the next album. And by the way, tonight you guys can help us choose which song we play in its entirety. Okay? So we're going to do The Doors right now, and then, of course, we're going to do Rubber Soul after this one. And if you want, come into the chat room and let us know which one you think is the best out of the two that we play tonight, okay? So just let us know. We'll be back here in about a minute or so, and we'll be back with our special guest, Mr. Bad Habit.
All right.
All right, 20th Century Fox. 20th Century Fox. Yes, sir. Okay, so got that one out of the way. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doors.
She's fashionably late.
Yep, fashionably late. Definitely fashionably late. And like we said before, Jim Morrison was one of a kind, man. I think he was way ahead of his time. I think he
Very much
was.
so.
Very much so.
But
and
you know why though?
Can't argue that.
He was the Lizard King. He could do anything.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
true.
What do
Yep.
you think about the movie? Was it Johnny Depp, the movie? He made?
Oh,
He was
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it was the greatest fucking movie ever, in my opinion. But anyways, it was good. It was very good.
Very good. Well,
And
now
we're
we're
going to talk about Free Ride's pick, which is
Rubber Soul from the Beatles. And Rubber Soul came out in a time period in the Beatles' career as a band. It came out in a time of transition. This album, I believe, was the Beatles' transition, a metamorphosis, if you will, of where they had been before. They always played the rock and roll. It's a Hard Day's Night. They played the hardcore. They did this. They did the movies. They did all that stuff, and it was rock and roll. It was rockabilly, is what it was. And then they did this album, and the song Michelle is not the song that I chose from this album, by the way. The song Michelle was Michelle was actually a song that Paul McCartney started to write and couldn't finish. Can anybody tell me who actually finished Michelle? Well, of course, it was John Lennon.
Okay.
So it showed that the partnership between John Lennon and Paul McCartney was still alive during this period. And so I think the transition from the rock and roll, the Hard Day's Night, Meet the Beatles, and songs and stuff like that changed them, and then they moved forward, and then came of course, Yellow Submarine, Strawberry Fields. They go into the acid scene, the psychedelic scene, as it were, and I think that this was the transition. This album was the door.
It was, and I'll agree with you. And I will.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
I will say that this album is the most important album to the Beatles' whole entire career, and I'll tell you why. Because pre this album, if the Beatles would have just done that shit they did then, I would have never liked them. Personally, me, they would have been like a boy band. Okay, they would have been like a pop flash, whatever. They couldn't continue with that "She Loves You" and all this. They needed their own sound, and this was the start of the Beatles finding their sound.
Right.
And
I think so.
There's not a goddamn song on this album that sucks.
That's true.
And so I think it's the very most important album the Beatles ever did, career-wise, to find out who they were.
So they did this record immediately after a North American tour.
Right.
Okay.
So do you think that they were influenced by what they saw in North America?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Like they're. And a lot of the songs are true to life, like Norwegian Wood, The Bird Has Flown. It's about John meeting a girl, going home, doing her at her house. She leaves for work, and he burns her fucking house down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that song's about, okay? So I definitely think the American whatever influenced the Beatles a lot. American music always influenced the Beatles. The Beatles were influenced by Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and Motown.
Yep, a lot of Motown.
So for the Beatles, were always influenced by American music, which is kind of ironic how then they became the biggest influence on American music after that.
Right. That is ironic, right?
Yeah, and that's it was also a time period when they were getting away from the Mersey beat, that English rock sound. They were walking away from that, and I think they wanted to get involved in that because at this time you had guys like Bob Dylan out there, you had Jimi Hendrix was making a headway, you had all these other artists in the United States, and they came here and met these guys. They met the Beach Boys, for Christ's sake, and they said, "Wow, this shit sells over here. Well, let's move that." And I think I don't think that they were followers necessarily, but I think this was the turning point for them.
It was. And do you know what the Beatles will say? All two of them now will say that one of their most influential albums of all time, it was right after this album. They will all agree that Pet Sounds from the Bee Gees, not the Bee Gees, the Beach Boys, created them to push them to do Sgt. Pepper's, because the soundscape and the getting trapped in the music and the little music here, a little sound here, a little whistle, a little bell appealed to them. And so the Beatles were definitely inspired by American rock. And it's so strange because all their influences were American, but they took it and made their own sound and friggin' made the world influential, you know?
So I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Do you hear any soul influence on this, like North American, African American soul influence? And if so, which song do you hear that on?
Oh, I hear that on. I hear that in "Think for Yourself" is that way, and "You Won't See Me" is that way.
Even "Nowhere Man."
How about
Nowhere
Drive
Man.
My Car?
Drive My Car.
Drive
Excellent,
My Car
excellent
is
choice.
like a Billy Preston song.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and no, but they definitely were. See, that's the thing about the Beatles that a lot of people don't even get, and a lot of Beatles fans don't realize they were influenced just as much by urban black music as they were by white rock music.
Oh, sure,
Mm-hmm.
sure. Well,
You
so
know-
with Mick Jagger and the boys.
Right.
Well,
And
yeah,
that's-
I mean, it's everybody in that era. They all said it openly that they were influenced by blues, and the soul music they were hearing coming out of North America.
because
but
they
this-
didn't have that in England, the soul
Right.
music. You know,
Right.
so it was different.
Right. And yeah, I agree 100% that prior to this record, everything they had refined their performance and, playing together as a unit. They were super tight with the vocals and the instrumentation and just musicianship.
I think this was
This is when they really started writing some really interesting, really good music.
I think it's when they stopped letting the record company pressure them to do anything they didn't want to do.
Well,
Yeah,
they didn't have to. They were
yeah.
No.
They
I mean,
could have farted into a microphone.
Sure. At this point, they could have, right? But I just don't think that we would be talking so highly about the Beatles still in 2016 if this album didn't exist. And I don't think this is their best album. I'm not saying this is their best album, but this is the album
I think it was the best produced album. I think it's one of their better produced albums.
I mean,
think
if you want
it was clean. It was a clean production.
My favorite Beatles album is, I know it's like almost everybody in the world's favorite album, not Sgt. Pepper, but Abbey Road. Okay, but this album, as the older I get, the more I like this album. That's what's so good about this record is it grows with you.
Yeah.
It's like 10 years ago, it didn't sound as good to me as it does now. I will play this album from I want to say from put the needle down and let it play, but I'll hit track 1. And I like every song and I won't skip it. And in my life, oh my God. Just a beautiful song. It's just a well-produced album, well done, well written. Most important album, I think, in the Beatles' career.
Yeah. Well produced.
Yeah.
It's quiet. It's clean. There's not a lot of crap in it. They didn't put anything extra in it like they did in later albums. They put a lot of bells and whistles into a few of the albums that I didn't necessarily like. And you know me, Guido. I'm into the B-sides. I'm into the songs that didn't make the charts. And the same goes for what I'm playing tonight. Okay, and that's going to be "If I Needed Someone." Okay,
Nice.
so it is not a pure Beatles song. It is a what? It is a George Harrison song.
I would have picked that you would have picked that one because I know you're a huge Harrison fan. And
George Harrison, as far as I'm concerned, wrote some of the most prolific music ever played by the Beatles. I agree. I think that they should have given him more. But he didn't mind, and he just wanted to be a Beatle. And I think that's what's really cool about George Harrison. He just wanted to be a Beatle. He didn't care about the fucking drama. Man.
I liked about this album too, like with Nowhere Man, and The Word. All three of them sing that.
Mm-hmm.
All three of the Harrison and Lennon McCartney, and I think they stopped doing that after this.
Yeah,
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know what song didn't make it on this album?
No, Free Ride I don't.
Neither do I.
There's a song, No Matter What, and that was a Paul McCartney song. And who did that song?
Badfinger.
Badfinger did that song.
Oh, okay.
And they were going to that was going to be the 14th song, and the producer washed it. and that was the only song that didn't make this album. And
I bet Badfinger loves that. Not to get off subject, but I would never want to be in Badfinger. Two of those guys hung themselves. Something's wrong with Badfinger.
Yeah, well, them guys there, they were heavy into the heroin, and they took Paul McCartney's gift and pissed all over it, as far as I'm concerned. So
you know what's funny about bands when they give away songs? We'll talk about that one. The Beatles didn't do it, so he gave it to them, and they did it famous. But that band, Badfinger, wrote a song that somebody else did famous. "I Can't Live" by Nielsen.
Yeah.
It's written by Badfinger.
Yeah.
It's like amazing. You know?
Yeah, they give away their songs and it makes a hit. I mean, don't you want to kick yourself if that happens?
Well, they don't really give them away. It's not like, here's a gift, man. It's like, here's a song, I get 90% of the royalties.
Right.
Well, you never know, though. I mean, it could have been something like, hey, we like this song, here's $500.
Could have been. Yeah, it could have been.
Okay, well, we're going to play a snippet of "If I Needed Someone," and this is the Beatles, and we'll drop it in there, and we'll hit play. Yeah, call that number on my wall. Call that number on my wall, and maybe you'll get a call from me. Great song. Yeah, that's a great song, and I think them guys. The vocal is so crisp on that song, and it's a short song. All these songs are such short. I mean, what is there anything on that album that's over 3 minutes? I don't know.
There's one song. The "You Won't See Me" is over 3 minutes. It's just 3 minutes and 18 seconds.
Yeah. That just amazing that in a short period of time, it's like 2 verses, man, and we're done. They knew how to end a song. Now, do you think that was that deliberate?
No, I just think it was their style then. I think, the Beatles, too, were also influenced by what was going on around them. They weren't just the leaders of everything. Let's face it, okay? They did it better than most people, but they got inspiration from other people, okay? So if now they're playing the short songs, it's the minimum. The Beatles were like an organization, man. They wanted to keep this money coming in. They wanted to stay famous. I don't give a shit what they say, okay? Because they did everything in their power to stay famous.
Right.
Good for them. That's what you should do. So I think everything was calculated. But as time went on, people were making longer songs, and the Beatles got in the trend too later. But they never made real long songs, though.
Right. That's true.
But they were pop rock. Okay, I hate to say that, but the Stones were rock and roll, and the Beatles were pop rock. They were more. A lot of parents were okay with the Beatles, but they weren't okay with the Stones.
Right. Well, it was definitely more refined and not as primal as the stuff that came after, for sure. Like the Doors, for example, or the Stones. Right.
Right. I mean, yeah, "You Won't See Me," "Nowhere Man," to "This Is the End."
I think that the genius. I think the genius of this particular record is that they were able to kind of move forward, but still kind of retain that poppy thing that got them there in the first place.
And that's what I loved about the Beatles is they never, dropped that pop angle.
No,
and that's so cool. They were so smart about it. I mean, that's why you become a musician and you become a band. You don't do it for the love of music. Yeah, you love music, but you want to keep making the music.
Right.
And you want to live in the nice house. So good for you. They did it, and they knew how to do it wonderfully. And they knew how to do it wonderfully on their own, in each their respect, too, on their solo efforts.
Right. Yeah, they were one of the few bands where, like we had talked about earlier, the individual members are never as great as the sum. In the Beatles' case, I don't think that's true. I think they were.
It's not. In the early 70s, the 4 members of the Beatles owned the charts, man.
Yeah.
Even Ringo fucking Starr had 3 number 1 hits, Christ's sakes, you know?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right.
The bands were that band there, whether you divide them or keep them together, they were all great. And I think in the end they all knew that. I think they,
Right.
I could never imagine, speak of imagine, I could never imagine the Beatles doing the song Imagine.
No.
You just know that's John Lennon.
Or Monkberry Moon Delight. Now maybe they could do Monkberry Moon Delight, yeah. But they wouldn't do Amazed. I mean,
Right.
They wouldn't do that. Yeah, they wouldn't do that one. So, but hands down, guys, these two 60s picks I think were really good. And I'm going to tell you what, I had a difficult time choosing the 60s one. My original choice was Disraeli Gears by Cream.
Oh.
Then I went with the Doors. But Disraeli Gears, was a great album too. There's so many great albums in the 60s. But now we're going to segue right into
the 70s.
The decade I was born, the 70s. And we're going to let Free Ride go with his pick first.
I'm going with my pick, and that is Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Great pick.
A little story about Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon was very influential to me at the time because I was a complete stoner. I mean, complete stoner. And my basement was dedicated to partying. And I went to see Pink Floyd, and it was on the Dark Side of the Moon tour. And when the plane streaked across the top of the arena and crashed into the stage, I was set for life as a Pink Floyd fan. The window pane didn't matter. It really didn't matter, man. It didn't matter. It was a great show, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. I will never forget that show. One of the greatest concerts I had ever seen, and that was the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon.
And that's I will tell you what, this album here is definitely one of the greatest albums of all time. It is. I'm not a huge Pink Floyd fan. I love 3 other albums, and I love the good Pink Floyd. And this is the good Pink Floyd. I mean, this album here was written in testament to their friend and their former lead singer Syd Barrett. Mental illness it dealt with, greed, the passage of time. I mean, this album is dark. That's why it's Dark Side of the Moon. But it was also a testament to Syd Barrett and they're saying to him, you're still the man to us, but you just in a dark place. It's amazing how this album was written. Okay. I mean, it took a lot of time and effort to make this album. The clock sequence in time, the song Time, taking away the moments that make up a dull day. Greatest fucking opening line to any song, I think. Arguably.
Yeah, one of the greatest. I think so.
The alarm clocks at the beginning all had to be done for real. They went and got hundreds of cuckoo clocks and alarm clocks and set them all to go off at the same time. They didn't have the technology that we have now, okay? So production-wise, this was probably the hardest album up to this point in music to make ever.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up from a production standpoint, and Money, the beginning of Money, I think with the cash register, all that stuff had to be actually recorded and not sampled like we do now, and from that perspective, it's absolutely one of the greatest feats of production and engineering. And
it sold 50 fucking million records.
50 million. And it's still selling at the top of the charts now.
There's bands that have 20, 30 albums out and don't sell 50 million. And you got this behemoth, multi-track, fucking tape-looped, analog, synthesized, recorded about mental illness. Sell 50 million records.
Yeah.
And because it was awesome. And I'll tell you,
the producer was
The producer, was Pink Floyd. It was the band. They did it themselves.
Alan Parsons.
Alan Parsons.
Alan Parsons was he was the engineer.
Was the
engineer.
Right.
Yeah, but that was definitely, as engineer, if you people don't know what an engineer does, he's the one that fucking makes the sound. So he did the recording, he did all that stuff, and with the sound effects. He was a big part of this album. And you know what else was a big part of this album was the EMS synthesizer that they use.
Yeah.
The was a VCS3 or something like that. It was a special, it was expensive. These things were expensive to have back then.
Right, and then it was also a 16-track, which was not really available.
That was not normal. Yeah, it was expensive.
And it has my 2 favorite Pink Floyd songs ever on it. I'm not kidding. I love Time because I love the fucking lyrics, and I love friggin' Brain Damage. Oh my God, the lunatic is on grass, man.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to hear tonight.
It speaks volumes to me. This album, it really, I had depression at one point in my life, and I used to play this album. And it actually would make me feel better because it made you believe that you're not the only one that feels this bullshit, No. And then I used to research Sid Barrett. Sid Barrett actually helped me to become undepressed because he was depressed. I read things about him. He was depressed for no reason. He was in a big fucking band, and he just had a bad LSD trip, and he went crazy.
That's all it takes,
to the point where I know, they recorded when they recorded the next album. We're not going to talk about it, but when they were in the recording studio recording "Wish You Were Here," he was in the control booth, but they didn't know it was him.
Yeah.
Because he got overweight and he shaved his head, and because believe it or not, and people might not know this because most people got into Pink Floyd in '73 here. It was Sid Barrett's band. Roger Waters had nothing to do with early Pink Floyd except play the bass.
He was the bass player. Yeah.
He was the bass player, right. Well,
now here's the question for you two.
Okay.
What do you think? Now here's I have this argument with Pink Floyd fans all the time. Yes, Roger Waters wrote everything, but Gilmour's guitar is the sound of Pink Floyd.
Now what? Now what was the question? You broke up.
You broke up a little, yeah.
Oh, okay. Roger Waters wrote all the music, produced it, whatever. But I still think that David Gilmour is the sound of Pink Floyd for his guitar playing.
Oh,
but yeah, definitely on for sure on this record, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, on this record.
I mean, it's a guitar tone that millions and millions of guitar players try to emulate.
Well,
sure.
I love the bells from them. I love the where they hit that they stroke that note and it lingers, and not a lot of bands did that back then. Where that boom, ding ding ding, and the drums were just phenomenal.
The drums, everything was phenomenal on this album. Yeah, you know what made it this album the pinnacle is that it appealed to the stoner crowd.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's stuff prior to this did as well.
Yeah. No, if you listen to the song Metal, and then you got Animals, and I think all of those progressed up to this album. They were insane. They were nuts, and all they were sounds. And it
Adam
was a sound.
Hart.
But here's the difference. But here's the difference. Metal sold 1 million copies. This sold 50 million copies.
I understand
that.
Well,
I think it became more of a commercial sound, more accessible. It was,
exactly.
and I think you're right. A lot of it had to do with David Gilmour's guitar, and the lyrically, it's just amazing. And I have a question for you guys: what did the album begin and end with?
What did it begin and end? Breathe in Eclipse, or Speak to Me in Eclipse.
Speak to me.
No, there's a certain sound it began with and it ended with.
Oh yeah. Oh,
a heartbeat.
A heartbeat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. A heartbeat. That's right. And have you guys ever done it? I've never done it. Synced it to the Wizard of Oz.
No, I've never done it.
Yeah, I've seen that done.
But it's supposed to say the first side.
Yeah.
Yeah, after the third lion roar on the MGM, you're supposed to hit, put your needle on the record, and the first whole side of the album is supposed to sync with the movie.
Nice.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like on the run, she's running from the witch,
Yeah.
and shit like this, and it's supposed to, the Great Gig in the Sky. It's all supposed to, I
Right,
don't know.
right.
But this is definitely a great pick from you, Free Ride. And like I said before, it's a very commercial pick, but that's fine because you know what? That means it's good.
Yeah.
Right.
If 50 million people bought it, it wasn't a mistake.
No, it wasn't a mistake, and I think I think this album in particular set them on the map. And like you said before, Mr. Bad Habit, the songs were the length that they needed to be to get airtime. The reason why Metal and Animals didn't do as well as this album is because the songs were too long. They went on forever and ever and ever, and there were no, I remember Johnny Fever on WKRP played Animals on his show, and he was doing the dogs on the show, and Mr. Carlson came in and says, "Is that dogs?" what? He goes, "Uh huh." So yeah. And he said, "What is this orchestra?" He says, "Pink Floyd. Don't touch that." So that's the appeal of of Pink Floyd.
Right.
It was a trip, and that's what it was meant to be. It was a trip. What
But
strikes
that's
me?
probably why I like this album better because I have a short attention span.
Yeah.
And I can't listen to one song more than 5 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
I can't. I want to hear something different now.
There's some stuff out there
and
that
that's-
they don't know how to end the song.
But that's
all.
But I'm just saying that's why, and it's weird because one of my favorite bands in the world are the Grateful Dead. Okay, they're a jam band. Okay, when I go see you in concert, yeah, play the 30-minute song. Oh, that's cool because I'm stoned anyways and I'm enjoying it.
Hey! They could turn. I mean, Grateful Dead could turn a 3-minute song into an all-day marathon. I mean, there's no way, and then end with the exact sound of the song. And that's the way they were. I mean, they didn't know how to end a song in concert was their problem. The one thing, though, that strikes me as fascinating is when Pink Floyd did a show, it sounded just like the album. It rarely did it deviate from what it sounded like on the album. And
So I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a question though. Do you think they invented concept albums with this particular record?
I think they were a part of the concept
No, I
album.
I think the Who created the concept album.
Well, I beg to differ with that too. I think it was the Moody Blues.
Tommy, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Moody
No,
Blues.
not even the Moody Blue. How about Love? Love had that concept album out.
Yeah.
A concept album was, it was. I think they perfected it.
Yeah.
They commercialized it for sure.
Yeah, that's for
It
sure.
definitely perfected it or commercialized it because look at The Wall. The Wall's a concept album, became a movie, became a big movie. I mean, it definitely.
The Who, that's a good point too, because Tommy was also made into a movie, but kind of after the fact, I think, right? How long
After the fact, it was quite a bit after.
I think The Wall was more of a concept album than Dark Side of the Moon was.
No,
But-
Dark Side of the Moon was too because it was all about that's the
insanity.
thing in concept. You got to. It wasn't just about insanity. It was about what happened to their mentor, Sid Barrett. The greed of money.
it was about the human experience.
It was about the human experiment, right? But he influenced the biggest part. Same with the next album, "Wish You Were Here." It was written about him.
Right.
I think if Sid Barrett didn't have the trip out that he did, I don't think Roger Waters would have got the inspiration to make this album.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
I don't, and let's face it, an album like a concept album, there's different kind of albums. There's the album where every song's like a single and you're just all over the fucking place and there's all these songs on there. And then there's this concept album about one thing. You have to have inspiration for it.
That's true.
Right.
You do.
That's
But
true.
anyways,
You
great
wanna do-
song. Let's play the.
Let's play a snippet. This is Brain Damage, Pink Floyd, KGFRocks.com. Yeah, paper, they hold their faces to the floor. Yeah, Pink Floyd. Brain Damage. That was a snippet of that.
Yeah.
The whole album just kicks ass. I wish they limit us. They limit us on what we can play on our radio station, and I wish just one night I could play the entire album from 1 through 13. Just play them all.
Just go off the reservation and do it, man.
Yeah, just go off the reservation. Well, I could probably get away with it on here.
Yeah, on Spreaker you could.
Yeah, Spreaker.
But the great album, great choice. Now, I get to
pick yours.
Torture you.
Oh yes.
I'm going to pick an album from the '70s that made me like music. That made me like rock music. Okay, up to this point, I heard Elvis in my house all the time, and fucking Frankie Valli and all this other stuff. Whatever. Then 1979 came, and Kiss Dynasty came out, and it all changed, boys.
It all changed.
My life forever fucking changed. When I heard on the radio a song with I'm like, what the hell is that? And I heard Paul Stanley saying, "I was made for loving you." And then I saw them on TV. I was done.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be fucking Ace Frehley. I wanted to be Ace Frehley until I was like 17 years old and realized I suck.
Yeah.
but anyways, this album in general, Kiss was one of those bands that were like the Beatles in a lot of ways, okay? They knew what sold, and they stayed with the trends, okay? This came out around the disco era, okay? Everybody jumped on the bandwagon, so don't fucking knock them for it, people. Shut up. Even Rod Stewart did a disco song. All right. Mm-hmm. So I Was Made for Loving You. Yeah, it might have been a dancey song, but it's the best guitar-driven, kick-your-ass song ever. I mean, listen to that song. Listen to it and tell me it's not good. But the reason I like this album is because it has the best cover song ever on it. Kiss's version of 2000 Man by the Rolling Stones kicks the original version's ass by tenfold. Listen to both, and you'll be amazed. I know this is probably neither of your cup of tea right here, this album. You might have trouble with this album. But this album, to me, changed my life. And that's what music's supposed to do. It's supposed to change your life and make it better. And
I think Dirty Living and Hard Times are awesome songs.
Hard Times is great.
Hard Times didn't get any airplay. I Was Made for Loving You and Magic Touch got the airtime on this album.
And Sure Know Something also.
Yeah, Sure Know Something.
Sure Know Something, yeah.
Yeah, but 2000 Man didn't get the airplay. Hard Times didn't get the and Dirty Living didn't get the airtime at all. And
it didn't. But
and that's where I go. I mean, you know me. I'm into the B-sides. I don't want that pop. I don't want that song that they played on the radio because they're telling me what they think I should hear. And that's why.
But see, that's the thing about Kiss, though. Kiss didn't get a lot of airplay at all, ever. Okay, fucking radio stations. Oh, that's a gimmick band.
Yeah.
Okay, assholes. It's fucking 50 years later. They're still there.
Right.
Okay, they're still not just. They're not just like, doing shows at your local fucking 500-seat concert venue like Blue Oyster Cult. These other bands from the '70s are. They're still playing in concert venues.
Right, that's true.
They're
pretty much selling things out. Yeah.
Go ahead, there, Mr. Bad Habit.
I was just saying they're one of those iconic rock bands. I mean, I remember when they first came out, it was like, oh, you got to go see these guys because they wear makeup and they spit blood. Nobody was doing that,
Right.
And I think we were talking earlier. I saw one of their shows in '74, and they were actually the opening band, but they got huge very quickly. And yeah, I think the makeup and all that stuff was something to get people's attention. But at the end of the day, they were a good rock band.
They were, and how cool is it that they really did influence so many kids? Because like Free Ride and Me, the bands that we are interviewing are 20s to 40 range, okay? These be kids, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And almost every single band in the last year that we've interviewed has cited Kiss as their influence. Yep. Okay, why is that? Because I'll tell you why. because at first you see them for the makeup. They're heroes. They're cool as fuck, okay? But then they force you to listen to music. So even if it's good or not, you're still listening to music, and you are starting to learn about other music because, this sounds like Kiss too, or this, and that. So Kiss got your ass into music. So fucking love that.
Mm-hmm.
And they do. Kiss fans are the craziest fans of all. They'll buy anything. You put the Kiss logo on it, they got it. So I got a Kiss toilet seat cover, okay?
We
Did you
recently,
have the action figures?
yeah, he had the
Yes.
action figures the whole 9 yards. I wasn't into all that. I really wasn't. I was a part of the crowd that you were talking about earlier. Say, they're a gimmick band. And I saw a lot of that. I mean, they weren't the only ones doing it at the time. There were a couple of bands that did that. I mean, you look at you look at some of the bands out of New York that did that, and there's several punk bands that derive from the Kiss thing. And as far as the disco thing goes, wow, for Christ's sake, man! Even the Rolling Stones did several disco songs. Even Ted Nugent's was disco stuff. I mean, they played that stuff in the disco. It wasn't all solid disco music, and that's why disco died so quickly, is because it was too much of a mix.
But see, the thing, Kiss is okay, right? You're breaking up.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
You're all breaking up. We're all breaking
Are you?
up.
We're all breaking up.
Now we're good. But
No.
see, the thing about Kiss is you're older, okay? So when Kiss came out, you were a young adult, okay?
Right.
And you were over that kind of phase. At first, Kiss appealed to a younger audience because...
Oh, wait. Okay.
What?
I used to play Kiss Alive, crank that shit up, and plug my
cool.
bass in and play along to it, and wear platform shoes.
I'm talking about free, not you.
I don't know. I don't know that I dislike Kiss, and like I said, I paid to see them twice, so it wasn't that I didn't like Kiss. I saw them first at a festival kind of a thing, and then I went to see them in concert at a concert hall, and both the shows were extremely entertaining. I mean, I had a really good time at both the shows. So, and that's what they are. They're great showmen, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'll tell you what, we had...
Multimedia. Movies, TV
Multimedia.
shows, cartoons,
Everything.
action figures. They're very smart businessmen, that's for damn sure.
Oh,
And, their music rocked.
Well,
it's-
They did. And there are artists of the week, and let me tell you something. It was Kiss versus Pearl Jam and Steely Dan. Kiss got 50% of the votes.
does not surprise me. Yeah.
No, it doesn't surprise me either, because, like you said, so many people have been influenced by the band Kiss. And you're right, man. I don't knock Kiss for what they were. I just knock Kiss for what they've become. And and this whole thing with what's coming up. I don't want to talk negative about Kiss. That's not what I'm going to do. Because you were very gracious in the Pink Floyd thing, and you were very gracious in the Beatles thing, which is very cool. So Kiss was awesome in their time, and the demise of Ace Frehley and the band kind of dissolved. And I don't think they've done anything in a long time, and I don't know if they're planning on doing it.
Their last album was released in 2012.
2012, and how did it do?
It went gold.
It went gold. Okay.
Which is how many units is gold now?
500,000.
500,000.
500,000.
Yeah. So it's
Well,
not like
they still-
It's 500,000 to almost a million. So they could be 700,000. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they do still sell out arenas. I mean, I think that's testament to their marketing prowess.
Sure.
And I'm not going to lie, they were not a huge influence on me, but there was a period in the 70s where I thought they were an awesome rock band. They were one of my top 5, top 10 bands for sure.
Right.
Then Shredders came along, and I didn't see them as that kind of a shredder band. And I really kind of fell off the Kiss wagon probably in the 80s or maybe even in the early 90s, and I thought, well, now they're kind of a parody of what they were, like they took the makeup off and all that sort of thing. But yeah, they were definitely influential, and a lot of the like shredder guitar players that I like, almost every single one of them cite them as an influence. I think that generation, I think Guido's generation, a lot of musicians, a lot of guitar players specifically, cite them as an influence.
I agree.
Oh, absolutely. Ace Frehley is the reason why I picked up a guitar. Mm-hmm. And you know what? He's not the best from the 70s by far. I'm not saying that. He's definitely not the best. No. But he was my influence. And he doesn't – and your influence – that's the thing about music, people. Your influence doesn't have to be the best. It just has to be good to you. And that's what this show is all about. These guys are not really into this album like I am. But, it's still no doubt a classic album to a lot of people, and I think that's the gift of music is so cool, man, because we can all agree on a song, we can all hate a song, or we can be split. But the bottom line is we still talk about it.
Right.
And you still listen to it, and you still enjoy. You have to hear a song to say, I don't like that song. How do you know you don't like it? Did you hear it? No. Well, then fuck you. That's all I got to say to that.
That's all.
I don't like rock. Have you ever listened to rock?
Yeah. Have you ever listened to real rock and roll? I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, I can still.
Whatever. So
hell with it. Go ahead.
Let's play the snip, man. Let's play the Magic Touch snip.
The Magic Touch. Okay, we're gonna play.
You know what? No, fuck it. You got 2,000 Man there?
Yeah, I got 2,000 Man.
Throw 2,000 Man in because I like that one.
All right.
Good call.
2,000 Man and Kiss. We're gonna do a short little. We'll be right back. KGFRocks.com.
My name is a number.
I'm growing funny flowers. Did you catch
outside
that
of my little? Oh, great tune. And that song was written by the Stones, but it goes so hand in hand with the Ace Frehley Spaceman persona because that's a spaced out song, man. You know what I mean? And that's why I think it's more Ace Frehley song than the Stones to me. Always, in my opinion, at least. You know what I mean? And that could happen with a song because let's face it, All Along the Watchtower, people, is a fucking Bob Dylan song, not a Jimi Hendrix song. And if you tell me you like the Bob Dylan version better, I'll punch you in the face.
All right, Guido, I got a question for you. Lay some knowledge on us here about this record. Who was the drummer on every song except for "Dirty Livin'"?
Anton Fig was the drummer.
Very good.
That's also in the Ace Frehley band, Frehley's Comet, and he also went to the David Letterman band after that.
Right.
Oh, he played in Heart for a little bit too.
Right. Good.
Wow.
We don't know shit,
I'm in fucking impressed, man. I am fucking impressed.
Here's the thing that people don't understand about Guido. I do play music, okay? I'm not great at it. I DJ music. I may not be great at that. But the thing that I'm great at of everything is that I fucking love music. And I don't just love it in an aspect, I like to hear music. I want to know everything about it. I want to know who wrote it. I want to know who produced it. I want to know who made it sound like that because I want to hear something else that this guy did. So it's all about everything. You know what I mean? I'm like when you're surfing on the internet, you go from here to here to here to there. When I'm listening to music, I'll start with Kiss and end with fucking Frank Sinatra. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Today in my show, I did a show this morning, my free brunch program, and I played Rush, but I played Summertime Blues by Rush. And that's a rockin' fucking song, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, they just wailed on it, and it sounded better than the original. And can you tell me who did the original?
Eddie Cochran.
Eddie Cochran, yes.
Eddie Cochran, yeah. Did Blue Cheer do a version of
Blue
that?
Cheer,
yes,
Blue Cheer made it very popular, and nobody knew who the fuck Blue Cheer was.
Nobody still knows who the fuck Blue Cheer.
Blue Cheer was a great band, man. I mean, they played some pretty spacey stuff too. And Blue Cheer was one of my tripping buddies there. That's for sure.
They were definitely a trippy band.
Yeah, they were a trippy band, along with several others that used to fill my library with vinyl. I had a lot of vinyl, so
That's
I had
awesome.
9 crates full of vinyl. So I bought a lot of albums.
Guess we're, you know what though? Now, speaking of vinyl and that, we're going to go to the new decade. That was actually the last true year of the vinyl. So the decade the CD came into play. So,
Right.
I got to go first on this one?
Yeah, you go first on this one.
Okay. Now, the 80s was probably as tough for me as it was for you in the 60s, okay? Because I grew up in the 80s, okay? So everything that came out on the radio, I heard, you know what I mean, firsthand. So I thought about it. I'm like, what album did I be able to play from beginning to end and just still play? And I'm like, holy shit, Dave Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why. Okay. When Dave Lee Roth was leaving Van Halen, I was a huge Van Halen fan, still am. He left Van Halen. And and I was like, what the fuck, dude? I'm so pissed off. He's not going to be able to do anything because Eddie Van Halen is the greatest guitar player in the world, okay?
Right.
Guess what happened? Dave Lee Roth went out and made an album and decided that he was going to be not just have a band, but he was going to go out and find the best fucking rock band that has ever been. And he picked up Steve Vai, who right then and there ended my Eddie Van Halen is the only guitar player in the world thing. Okay. Mr. Buffalo, my hometown hero, Billy Sheehan on the bass. And you're a bass player, so you know Billy Sheehan is a fucking man. And Greg Basanti, drummer from the Maynard Ferguson band. Holy shit, how can you not be a good band? You know, the worst person in the band is David Lee Roth, for Christ's sakes. You know?
And even back then, he had a voice.
He did.
And he had a voice. And he could write.
I'll tell you what, David Lee Roth's debut single comes out, Yankee Rose. And he goes up, whoa, and the guitar goes, whoa. I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And he goes, you know, she's beautiful. And the guitar goes, she's beautiful. I'm like, what? I almost cummed myself, man. It was like, who is this?
And then you know that the video for that song, one of the best lines ever in a video. Give me a bottle of anything and a jelly donut to go.
Yeah. And a jelly donut to go.
Yeah, and that's the thing is he's always a showman first, Dave Lee Roth. But he silenced the critics on this album. He didn't do a lot after this that was great. He did a few things, but he silenced everybody on this album. He fucking smacked him in the face. And you know why? Because, and even Ted Templeman knew it. He left Van Halen to come produce this album. He chose to produce Dave Lee Roth's album instead of Van Halen's album.
Well,
now that's
wasn't Van Halen going through a really rough spot when David Lee Roth left? I mean, he kind of, you know, when he left out of there, the guys didn't know where they were going to go from there, did they? I mean, they really didn't. They tried several different singers that didn't work out.
No.
Didn't they try a couple? Didn't they try a singer?
That was later on. What happened is neither Dave Lee Roth didn't want to be in Van Halen anymore, and Van Halen brothers did not want Dave Lee Roth in the band anymore. Yeah. So it was a mutual decision. They broke up in '85. Van Halen's next album was on '86. Right. So it wasn't long. What happened is they wanted him gone, so he left. He did the fucking Crazy from the Heat album, you know, and then realized he could do it on his own, so he left. They first wanted to hire Patti Smith to sing.
Right.
Okay. Right. She declined, so they went with Sammy Hagar.
Thank God.
So it wasn't that long of in between. You might be thinking of after Hagar left the first time when they had Mitch Malloy and then they had Gary Sharon.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we think about. But to get back to this album, the thing about this album that is great is it's a pure rock album. I don't think you'll disagree with me. This album rocks from start to finish.
From start to finish, yes, it does. Yeah,
one of my all-time favorites for sure. I still play this a lot. I love this record. Absolutely love it. I love it because it's the first time I ever heard of Billy Sheehan. You know, I mean, I'm a West Coast guy, And I heard this, and I'm like, "What is this? I've never seen a guy play the bass guitar like this." I saw this tour as well, and it was amazing. I mean, there was no letdown in the live show. Absolutely, it was better than the record. I mean, the combination of Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan was no less than amazing.
Right. Well, and that was my musical progression. I went from Ace Frehley to Eddie Van Halen to Steve Vai, and nobody's replaced Steve Vai for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's another iconic musician for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And the idea that David Lee Roth couldn't pull it off was all bullshit.
Yeah,
he proved him wrong.
Right, and I mean, this was another multimedia thing with the videos, and it was like the big rock thing, the show, the music, everything. It had everything going on at just the right time, and it really, I think it was, kind of. It was like almost like a Van Halen on steroids thing, because Van Halen was really well known, for their shows, just going into an arena and just kicking your ass, and I think he took it to another level with this thing,
Absolutely did.
Oh, he did. And you know what I liked about it the best is that when people kept saying, "Oh, Eddie Van Halen was David Lee Roth's reason he was famous," he's like, "Yeah, okay," and he got fucking Steve Vai. It was like, fuck you, people. This dude's better. You know what I mean?
Well, have you ever read the book Van Halen Rising?
Mm-mm.
A very good book, and it's really totally about the very early days of Van Halen and how they paid their dues to become to break through. And they played a lot of people's massive Pasadena backyard parties with thousands of people. And throughout the reoccurring theme is, Roth was in a competing band, and it was the Van Halen brothers never liked him. They never got along with him. And all their friends said this guy's a shitty singer, but Roth worked his ass off constantly to put his show together and to become a better singer. He worked very hard, and this, to me, this record was the culmination of that.
It was. And early Van Halen, okay, let's forget about the past couple tours or whatever, but Roth was the reason a lot of people went. A lot of people went for Eddie Van Halen too, but a lot of people went to see what Roth was going to do. Is he going to do the split mid in the air? Is he going to fly across the crowd? What's he going to do? And he was the ultimate showman. What he lacked in vocal ability, he made up for in performance ability.
Absolutely.
Then, not now.
Not now.
Now he's like Liza Minnelli on a bad day.
Well, I think what David Lee Roth's going to do next, I think he's going to start producing, and that would fit him well. I think he could fit into that line of work very well. And his old man did it. I mean, his old man was a producer for a long time, and so I think he could learn something from that. So he's a good man, and he's I don't hold nothing against him. He's 64 years old and he's out there still doing it. So
and he got fully tatted at 62.
Yeah.
And he is, to me, he is probably the most quotable rock star ever.
Yeah.
I mean, spend some time and look up David Lee Roth quotes on Google, and you'll laugh your ass off. He came up with some really classic ones.
The reporters back in the day really never wanted to interview anybody else in the band but David Lee Roth.
Well, because he was more or less the spokesman for the band, wasn't he?
No, because he was the entertainer.
Right.
He would entertain. Even in an interview, he would make it entertaining. I remember seeing him on like David Letterman when he was like down and out, like in the mid '90s when he had no hits or nothing, and he still was entertaining as an interviewer. It was like fucking hilarious, And I'm like, this guy should have his own radio show, and he did. He got his own radio show for a while,
right?
And then I don't know what happened. But this album definitely, for me, was my favorite album from the '80s, and I think after this album. The later '80s came when music made that fucking horrible shift, and you know what I'm talking about, Mr. Band. And there wasn't much good after the mid '80s, '86, '87.
Well, what's funny is the hair bands. They were. He's the guy that they were all trying to copy.
I know it.
With the showmanship and always trying to one up each other with the costumes and the hairspray, and it kind of, to me, it eventually kind of diluted rock music,
Well,
because
Kiss and Van Halen had the biggest influence on '80s glam rock.
absolutely.
So, what are we going to do from this one?
I like Elephant
Gun.
How about that? I like that one.
I like that one, but my favorite song, "Ladies' Night in Buffalo."
Oh yeah,
Ladies' Night in Buffalo. What do you? Is that okay? Okay. All right. Yeah. Since I'm the producer, I'll go ahead and put that in. We're going to do Ladies' Night in Buffalo.
Elephant Gun's good too, though. But I like "Ladies' Night in Buffalo," and I'll tell you the story about the song.
Well, Mr. Bad Habit, I expect to hear you play Elephant Gun on your show Thursday night.
I will, absolutely. You got it.
Here's David Lee Roth and Ladies' Night in Buffalo. Yeah, a little bit of David Lee Roth there.
It was the
for you.
backstage pub.
What's that?
I was talking about a club that I had.
Oh, hello, LA.
Yeah, tell the story about the song. That was a cool story.
Oh yeah, the song "Ladies' Night in Buffalo." When David Lee Roth came here to Buffalo, New York, to persuade Billy Sheehan, who's from Buffalo, to join his band, he couldn't believe that we have all the hot women we have here. We do have hot women here, and that the bars stay open till 4 a.m. And it happened to be ladies' night that night. So the bars were flooding. Ladies' night in Buffalo was free drinks for the ladies. And we have so many clubs here that they were always packed with hot ladies. So he just loved the fact that you could party in a town with beautiful women till 4 a.m. And he wrote that song. And he got Billy Sheehan in the band.
Yeah, hey, a great album. Yeah, you're right. One of his very best, and you can really feel his angst for rock and roll and in the album. And he wrote some really good songs for that album. Too bad he couldn't share that with Van Halen, but they are definitely an icon band. They set their mark. And they did really well, man. Whether Eddie is an asshole or not, they did some great stuff. And they did a lot of cover songs, though, don't you think?
On this particular record.
Covers.
No, I mean what I mean. Not no.
Van Halen in general.
Van Halen in general did a lot of cover songs.
Yeah, they did. They did a lot.
A lot of cover songs.
David Lee Roth. It's because of David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth believes in paying back your mentors and showing where your influences come from.
Well,
and
they were a cover
band
initially too. They
were a cover band. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Until you know who found them? Come on. Guess who found Kiss? I mean, who found fucking Van Halen?
Gene Simmons.
That's right. Gene Simmons produced their first demos. There is actually an album in existence where it's Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons and Alex and Eddie Van Halen. And it's never going to be released because both record labels want the fucking money, the credit. And that's bullshit. Release that motherfucking album.
I'd like to hear
Holy
that.
Shit.
That might be good.
And you know when Ace Frehley quit Kiss, Eddie Van Halen called Gene and said, "I'm in," and Gene Simmons says, "No, you're not our type of guitar player, and stick with what you got." That's fucking awesome. I'm the best guitar player in the world. I'm the band, motherfucker. You stay there.
All right. So much for the Kiss again. Here we go again. Boy, if it wasn't for Gene Simmons, we wouldn't have rock and roll. So he's actually he is the god that gave rock and roll to you, Gene Simmons.
Yes, he is. But now we're going to do your album.
We're going to do my album for the '80s, and it is the Rolling Stones' "Tattoo You." Now this is a great album. I mean, it's got "Start Me Up" on it. It's got "Slave." It's got "Little TNA," which is, by the way, my song tonight. And a little tits and ass goes a long way, and that's what that's all about. And another great song that I had a hard time choosing the songs that I wanted to play tonight was "Hang Fire." I love that
Hang
song.
Fire.
Yeah,
I
Hang
love that
Fire
song.
is a great song. I think this was like a little bit after their little stint with disco. And I think Tattoo You was a breaking point for them in the 80s. I think that was, they were getting away from the older style, again, the Mersey beat. But also, they went through that transition of playing the pop and playing the disco. And they moved into Tattoo You, which leaped them back into rock. And
Well, here's the funny thing about Tattoo You, okay? Look at the history on Tattoo You. Tattoo You was the first album of the 80s. But all them songs were written in the 70s. They were all songs that were
written in the 70s.
Thought were not good enough to put on past albums. They were written between 1972 and 1980. All them songs are old songs.
Well,
Matter of fact, Mick Taylor actually plays on a few of them because they kept his guitar track in it because it was so good.
And that was on Waiting for a Friend.
Right. So it was also the last great album by the Stones, in my opinion. I don't care if anybody has an argument with that. But
I think Steel Wheels was a good album, but that's just me. I think it was a good album.
That was good. I didn't say there was no good album. I said this was the last great album that they did. This was the most relevant album that the Rolling Stones did in modern music.
Right. Well, I agree, and I think Goathead Soup was a precursor to that too. I think that was one of their best produced albums. That album there was the cleanest that the Stones had ever done to that point.
My favorite Stones album is Black and Blue, and people are like, Black and Blue, but I fucking love Daddy, You're a Fool to Cry. It's my favorite fucking Stones song. Well, I come home, I mean, like, oh, that's awesome. I put my daughter on my knee, I'm like, oh, that's beautiful, and because Mick Jagger is soulful. Mick Jagger's fucking got soul, man.
Oh yeah, he does.
He's a black dude in a fucking white body. Look at his lips, I mean, come on, and he's like, and he's got soul. And that was the thing about the Stones is that they were a rock band with a soul singer.
Yeah, little Richard kind of a thing.
Yeah,
he's a Little Richard kind of a guy.
And I'll tell you what, this album here is another one of those things. I saw this tour in '81, and my uncle took me, and I wasn't, like I said, I was young, '81. I was born in '74. It was my first experience of the Rolling Stones, and I became a lifelong fan of them because of this album. So,
well, yeah, and not to mention when you look around at the crowd that was at the stadium where you were, and you said, "Oh my God."
Right.
I mean, when I went to see the Rolling Stones the first time, I saw them at RFK Stadium in Washington D.C., and it was a great concert. And I looked around and I said, "Oh my God, look at all these people!" Well, that was nothing. When I went to the Steel Wheels concert, I looked around at Busch Stadium here in St. Louis, and the place was packed to the rafters. I mean, everybody paid for a seat. And that's the thing about the Stones. They will always be the consummate stadium band. Always.
Sure.
No matter what.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll definitely sell them out.
They picked up where the Beatles left off. The Beatles, were the greatest rock band or whatever, and they broke up, and the Stones just kicked the door down and kept going.
They weren't going to die. They weren't going to die.
The Beatles breaking up was the best thing to happen to the Stones because everybody always compared the Beatles to the Stones throughout the '60s.
Well, they were the dark side of the Beatles. They were on the wrong side of the tracks.
Right, but even the Stones did a big Beatles song. You know that?
Yeah.
I want to be your man.
I want to be your man. But that was also who actually wrote that song.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah. I want to be your man.
You're talking to the King.
Who sang it?
King
Who sang it? Who sang it for the
Ringo
Beatles?
Starr.
Thank you. Wow, you're just a fucking genius, man. I can't stump you, man.
Encyclopedia.
The encyclopedia of music. I can't stump.
That's how I got my name, King Guido, because the morning DJ at the radio station here used to call and ask me questions all the time. He used to call me, tell me everybody I was the king of useless information. Yeah,
that's what you get from the conjugal visit. Is a bunch of useless information.
So Tom, you tell us about this album. What do you think about it?
I can't say it was my favorite Rolling Stones, but record, but definitely had some stuff that I really liked on there. Hang Fire, I love that tune. Black Limousine, I like that one.
Yeah,
Of course, Start Me Up's got the classic, being a musician, the classic guitar riff. I'd have to say I really I'm more a fan of Sticky Fingers because they did some of that stuff at Muscle Shoals,
right,
with the Swampers.
Right.
But overall, I agree. I think this was probably their last great record.
Send me dead flowers. Sweet Virginia. Got to scrape that shit right off your shoes.
Mine's favorite
Brown
song.
Sugar, Wild Horses.
Wild Horses.
Well,
Yeah, Wild
okay. Well, here's
Horses.
a question for you then, Tom. So, or Mr. Bad Habit. Oops. Are you saying that the Mick Taylor era is your favorite Stones era?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
You know what?
Yeah, without a doubt.
I am too of that era, and because I even like some of the songs that weren't theirs, like they did the Temptation songs, Just My Imagination and Ain't Too Proud to Beg. I love their version of Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
Yeah.
But Ron Wood fit more with their style, I think.
Yeah, he did for sure. Well, him and Richards definitely, I think, meshed a lot better than him and Mick Taylor. Mick Taylor was more of an Eric Clapton kind of.
Sure, right.
Definitely.
And Ron Wood wasn't better. He was just a little bit better than Richards, and I think that made Richards more comfortable. He wasn't, Mick Taylor kicked his ass in guitar player,
Right.
And but they toned Mick Taylor way down, man. They didn't let him shine like they should have.
Right.
Because he's a damn good guitar player. Very underrated.
Definitely was. Go ahead.
So, Free Ride, I got a question for you. It's a little trivia question on this record.
Okay.
What song did Bill Wyman play guitar on?
Oh, fuck. I think it's a little TNA, wasn't it? Or was it? It's either that or Heaven.
Heaven, you got it.
Yeah.
He played the synthesizer and the guitar and the bass.
And the bass.
Right.
No question about that.
And I tell you what, the Mick Taylor, he played the guitar, electric guitar on Waiting for a Friend, and that's such a great riff.
That's a classic riff, right there.
Oh, it's amazing. And like I said, Mick Taylor was great. But, like when I said I like the Black and Blue album with the Stones, you know why I like that one too? Because it was the first album in history where a band auditioned a guitar players for the gig. They had 3 or 4 different guitar players on that album, all competing for that job to replace Mick Taylor. Instead of picking one, they put them all on that album and then chose Ronnie Wood off of it. That's fucking genius. I think,
Yeah, it looks like they had Harvey Mandel play, and who was an underrated guitarist in my opinion.
Very underrated, yes.
Right.
And Wayne Perkins.
He was from another band too. I can't remember. You can click on it or see. Wayne Perkins was another guitar player. I can't.
Lonnie Mack. I think he was a kind of a country guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Wayne Perkins was
R&B guy.
Yeah. So they kind of, and then Ron Wood got the gig. If you look at the album cover, there's only the 4 Stones on there.
Mm-hmm.
First time ever. There's not 5 Stones on the record.
Right.
Well,
Keith Richard summed up the album by saying the thing Tattoo wasn't that we'd stop writing new stuff, like to your point, Guido, about those songs were written in the 70s. It was a question of time. We'd agreed that we were going out on the road and we wanted to tour behind a record. There was no time to make a whole new album and make the start of the tour. So they threw a bunch of songs in there that were in the archives.
I'm not knocking what they did. I think what they did was genius. They took songs that they didn't feel were good enough to be on those other albums and made it one of their best-selling albums ever. It's a genius move. I mean, it's by no far am I knocking that. I'm just saying it was their first album, like I said before, in my opinion, their last album that had significance in music. And it was old stuff.
Now, Chris Kimsey was the producer of the album. Okay.
Right.
What other album did he produce with the Rolling Stones?
Chris Kimsey produced the one. It was either right before or right after. It was either. I'm thinking now.
Sticky Fingers. I stumped the man. I stumped him.
Dude, Jimmy Glimmer. No, he did not. Jimmy Miller produced fucking Sticky Fingers.
No, he was an associated.
He was an engineer on Sticky Fingers.
Yeah, he was an engineer.
Yeah,
he was associated with
Miller produced Sticky Fingers.
He co-produced Steel Wheels and Rolling Stones Undercover.
You tried to get me and thought you got me, and you did get me.
I did get you.
But you
The
did.
king.
Jimmy Miller produced fucking Sticky Fingers, not Chris Kimsey. He engineered it. Difference.
He engineered it.
Huge difference.
Okay.
You didn't stump me, so.
Okay. All right.
I would tell you.
He did produce this album, though.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. It says so right here. I'm reading it.
If I too, Glimmer Twins produced that album.
The album's associate producer was Chris Kimsey.
Associate producer.
Yeah.
The Glimmer Twins produced. You know who the Glimmer Twins are?
The Glimmer Twins, yeah.
Who are
They didn't produce it all.
Who are the Glimmer Twins?
Who are the Glimmer Twins?
Keith Richards and Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
Kind of like the
we knew that.
the Toxic Twins with Aerosmith. Right?
Yeah, the Toxic Twins, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And another band that Aerosmith that I was going to pick for the 80s too in Permanentification, because that was another one of those albums that really fucking hit it home for me, you know. And they were fucking so Stones influenced, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
So and they were contemporaries with them at one time, you know.
Right.
But
did you know that Waiting on a Friend was actually written in 72?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Yeah, and and that's Mick Taylor was on that, and Ron Wood. Both guitars were on it.
Yeah, because the Ron Wood just did overdubs on the original track. Ron Wood didn't record it in 72. He played on it in 81, but they just took what Mick Taylor's guitar track and relayed the vocal tracks and the new guitar, Ron Wood's new guitar. So they really didn't have to do much work. They still did work. They still went in the studio.
Right.
They just had to do some minor overdubs and some add some little things here and there. The bulk of the track, basic of the track, was already recorded though, for most parts. You know.
But the album still was a success.
The copies are a huge success.
Platinum.
Platinum.
I think it went platinum.
4 times platinum.
I mean, it's a testament to their skill as songwriters. They're like, let's just take a bunch of shit that we didn't think was good enough for other records and make a record. I mean,
make a record.
I was trying to. Yep.
Yeah, I'd be happy to record their cast-off songs anytime.
I would too.
Throw me a couple of bones, would you?
The problem, what happened with the Stones is when they went to write their first album in the 80s, which was their next one, Undercover the Night, it wasn't that good.
No, and that was more of a dance club kind of thing too. I don't know if
they
it was
tried
disco.
Instead of going with the shit, we're an iconic rock band, let's run with it. They tried to be modern, and that didn't work for them.
Right. They tried to get into the pop scene.
Right. And then they came out with the next album with the Harlem Shuffle on it. What the fuck is that? I mean, seriously. And the shit went to number 5 on the charts. Where people in 85 fucking retarded. Come on.
Yeah, they must have been.
Well, that's not that good of a song.
We're gonna get into our last snippet here, and this is the Rolling Stones off the Tattoo You album, and this is a little TNA right here on KGFRocks.com. We'll be right back. Don't go away. The ultimate in sexual innuendos in his songs. He was the best. You guys still with me?
Yes. No, I am. What's his Mr. Bad Habit had to go.
He had to go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
he
waited
had to exit the studio. He had some prior engagement that he had to get to, so that's cool. He stayed for most of the show.
Yeah, he stayed for.
He said he was only going to stay an hour, and he stayed all this time.
So, Guido, let me ask you: of all the songs that we played snippets of tonight, what song would you like to hear in its entirety?
Well, I'm not going to be a jackass and just pick my song. That's for sure. I will have to say, if it's a tough one, man, but yeah. I'll go with Brain Damage.
Brain Damage. Okay. All right. Well, I agree with that. I agree with that. I think that holds up on all time. But we'll save that for the end of the show.
Okay.
And we'll play that out, and then we'll close the show out and say goodnight to these good folks out here that are listening. This week's artist of the week is Kiss, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
It's Kiss. Yeah. Pay attention. Class, pay attention. Here we go. We're almost at the end, man. We made it through, man. What a great show, man. I had a really good time talking about rock and roll, man.
I did too.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We'll have to do that whenever we don't have a guest. That's what we'll do from now on.
I agree with you, man. I mean, we don't always, have to have a guest. We could do a rock show like that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Anytime.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And we got each other a couple of times and had a little bit of fun with it. And old Mr. Bad Habit, who is on Thursday nights, right, Guido?
Thursday nights, yes, he is.
Thursday nights, he's on Thursday nights. So check out his show. He always puts on a fantastic show. I want to thank him very much for assisting us on the show tonight. I think he had a good time. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed as long. I didn't expect him to stay that long.
No, I think he enjoyed it very, very, very much.
Yeah. So, anyways, had a good time with that. Kiss is the artist of the week on KGFRocks.com. Who's on the list for next week, Guido?
I don't know, but you do.
Oh, come on, man. Are you killing me, man? You're killing me.
You booked it.
No. I'm talking about who is up for artist of the week next week.
Oh, I thought you meant who was on the show, man.
Man.
Our constant visit show. I was reading a text. I'm sorry.
That's
next,
okay.
The current nominees this week are some. This is going to be a tough one. This week is going to really be a battle royale, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, no clear cut winner in this one because all three bands are good, and I'm stalling because it's loading right now. So
it's the Rolling Stones,
the Stones, the Who, right?
No.
Oh, the Eagles, Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses, and the Eagles.
That's right.
So I'm
That's
guessing
three pretty killer bands right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Who's your pick?
Rolling Stones. I have to go with the Stones. Traditional. They are true classic art. They're true artists. Period. So that's all there is to it. No question about it. No question about it.
No question about it.
Out of all three of those, I love the Eagles. Don't get me wrong. But the Rolling Stones, I mean, wasn't for the Rolling Stones, there would have been no Eagles. There would have been no.
There definitely would have been no Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses for sure, because they wouldn't have had anybody they could mimic. So I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the Rolling Stones are the shizzle from the Izza Bizza Fizzle, sizzle fizzle sizzle.
We will see though, and you can vote now because the thing that tells you who's in the lead now is back. I finally got it to come back, and right now, 100% of the votes are on the Rolling Stones.
That's because I just bet for it. I just placed it.
So
I'm probably the only one.
It doesn't tell you how many people vote, but it just tells you what the percentages are.
Right.
So, but who knows? It could be you, it could be 10,000 people. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, and next week we have a show. Next week, yes, we do. We are going to welcome on the 10th, which is next Sunday, a really good band, and we're going to have all four of the members of the band with us that night, and it's going to be a rocking show, man, because I get to go see these guys on the following Saturday. They're going to be in St. Louis, and this is, if I can pull the damn thing up, I'd be all right. I want to give this correctly. I don't want to do it half-assed. Do I? No, I don't. Come on, you stinker. Yeah, we want to do this right. See, I need to start prepping better.
I tell you this all the time.
Yeah, I need to prep better. And the winner is... God damn this.
What are you doing, man?
This is stupid. The band Pulse. They're a hard rocking band from Dallas, Fort Worth area.
Oh,
and
okay.
comprised of veteran musicians. And capture the audience with powerful live performances, uh, great guitar work, and such. So we will be welcoming the band. It's going to be awesome, and then I get to go see them the following week, and so we get to talk about that. And they're also doing Kansas City, so band
Mhm.
Pulse. If you check it out, you can get their stuff on Reverb Nation, or you can go over to YouTube, and they've got stuff there too. So that's all good.
Yeah, very sounds like going to be a good show.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I can't wait to do that. And then on the let's see, I don't have a booking yet. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I've got a book.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do. I've got another booking for the following Sunday. After that, we have. God damn, man, you guys are killing me. On the 17th of April, um, this is going to be a good show. This is going to be an outstanding show. Okay, it's going to be Freddie Villano of American Mafia,
Hmm.
and he used to work with Jimmy Coons, and they still work with John West, Jimmy Coons,
Hmm.
Mike DeMaio, and Ed Terry, and
Okay.
yeah, these guys. I mean, this is going to be a great show. He also is a writer for Bass Player magazine, which
Oh
like
wow.
we keep getting these bass players, man.
Yeah.
We keep getting these bass players. Can't wait for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
yeah, he interviewed. He just got through interviewing for Bass Player magazine, Gene Simmons. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah, so
Who's he in? What band's he in?
he is in a band called American Mafia.
No, the guy he interviewed.
Oh, the guy he interviewed,
Mhm.
Kiss. I
Oh,
know.
wow.
I know.
There's
Shut up.
There's that name again. Could it be because they're fucking one of the most influential bands in the world?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. You tell me, man. You tell me. I guess,
I
I don't know. Maybe I'm
I
crazy.
just did tell you. I told
Maybe
you.
I'm
Tom
crazy.
told you. The dudes from the show last week told you. The dudes from the show before that told you. The dudes from the show before that even told you. So
And we
I don't
didn't.
know.
You didn't even have to prompt them.
No, no. And I never made it unfair to you. All I say
No,
is,
no, you
was
didn't.
I didn't say did Kiss influence you? No,
No,
never said that. But
no.
everybody brings it up on their own.
Yeah,
Maybe if we get like people from your era, they won't. But
right.
if we get like Uncle Giuseppe's barbershop quartet on here or something,
Right.
maybe they won't be influenced by Kiss. So, anyways, I don't want to gloat, but. But see, that's the thing about people and about their musical influences. It's like yours is the Beatles. We know that. And you're influenced by other things too. But your main thing of influence is the Beatles. And they
Right.
will always be influenced to you. And you will always think that nobody is better than them in that, right?
Well, no,
So it's
no, in that realm. Well, no, I think there's bands that were better than them. Don't
I'm
get
talking
me,
about influential to you. I'm not saying
right,
bands that are better. Bands that music shouldn't be about who's better and what sounds better. It's supposed to be what feels good to you.
right.
Okay,
And the Beatles always feel good to me.
right, just like Kiss always does to me, and because it's what you grew up with, it's what influenced you, it's what got you into music. It's
Right.
your first. It's like your first love. It's like your first kid. It's like your first everything. You know what I mean? First time you had sex. That feeling you never get again, and that's
Right.
what your first musical experiences of like too. I would say.
First time you get high on marijuana, you'll never match that.
Oh,
The
dude.
the first.
I remember the first time. I mean, oh my God. I think I took 2 puffs, and I was in fucking La La Land for like 8 hours.
Oh my God! No, it took me. I smoked it a couple of times. It didn't do anything to me, and then I was in the basement with my brother, and he said, "Here, well," and I told him, look, I'm not getting off on it, man. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So he says, "Here, smoke some of this." So he had a joint, and we smoked it together. I was so freaking high, I didn't know which end was up, Yeah, yeah, it was pretty hairy. So,
Right.
pretty high. He's a, and I found out that the first time I got high on marijuana, it was Panama Red. So my favorite song of all time is Panama Red.
I know that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs. So, and then let's see, we're gonna follow the shows. We have Monday night. We've got Mr. Rob Boyer, and the Metal Anima. Oh, I did it right. Yes. I did it right. Did you catch that? That was awesome.
It was an Emina.
Okay, real quick here, we're gonna play "Brain Damage" by Pink Floyd. We'll be right back. You're listening to KGFRocks.com. Oh, that laughter. That's Pink Floyd and Brain Damage from the Dark Side of the Moon album, which was our pick. Guido, that was our pick.
It was definitely a great tune.
Back to the shows for the week that I just kind of blew away. Monday night is Rob Boyer and the Metal Anima, and then Tuesday is in the mid morning is Diamond, and then on Tuesday we have Bill Hill, right? On Thursday.
Yeah, Bill Hill, yes.
Yeah, Bill Hill on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we have Guido.
Yeah, who was that? Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, that's you. And then Thursday we have Mr. Bad Habit himself. And then on Friday we have Diamond in the evening, as her diamond shines brightly in the evening. Okay, well, we've beaten this one to death.
Beat the fuck out of it.
We beat the shit out of this show, man. Hey, listen, if you're interested in checking out all of our past shows, go into our site and check out the past archives. After tonight, I'm hoping we hit 1,300 listens, okay?
That'd be awesome.
So tell a friend about us here at KGFRocks.com, and tell a friend about the Conjugal Visit Show. Thanks a lot for listening tonight. See ya.
Later.
It's Sunday night, and this is the Conjugal Visit on KGFRocks.com.